Imagine being woken up at 3 a.m. by the sound of heavy machinery outside your home. You look out the window and see a group of so-called HOA security guards and bulldozers tearing down your fence like they own the place. But here's what they didn't know. My family has something parked in the barn that isn't exactly neighborhood friendly. And when my 14-year-old son heard the rumble of engines, he decided to roll out our family's retired M1 Abrams battle tank. What happened next? Well, the HOA never saw it coming. It was the kind of night where even the crickets had gone quiet. The clock read 2:57 a.m. when I jolted awake to a strange rumbling sound. At first, I thought it was thunder rolling over the hills, but then I felt the vibration through the floorboards of my ranch house. "Jack," my wife whispered, shaking my arm, "do you hear that? It sounds mechanical." I slid out of bed, grabbed my flashlight, and peeked through the blinds. My stomach sank instantly. Floodlights, bulldozers, and men, 6 of them, wearing black uniforms with bright yellow HOA security patches stitched onto their sleeves. They weren't cops, they weren't military, they were just bugs playing dress-up. And they were on my property. Worse, one of them was already in the driver's seat of a bulldozer, lowering its blade against the wooden post to my perimeter fence. Are you kidding me? They're bulldozing my damn fence! This wasn't the first time the HOA had tried something insane. Ever since they'd taken over the Neighborhood Association last year, they'd been pulling every stunt imaginable. Fines for grass height, letters threatening to tow cars that weren't aesthetic, even trying to regulate what color curtains we could hang. But this was escalation. My son Luke, 14 years old, padded down the hallway in his pajama bottoms, rubbing his eyes. "Dad, what's going on? Did a storm knock something over?" I didn't have time to explain everything, but then the sound of wood cracking echoed through the yard. The bulldozer's blade had just snapped the first fence post clean in half. Luke's sleepy expression vanished. He knew. Is it the HOA again?" he asked. I nodded grimly. That's when Luke's eyes darted toward the barn at the far end of the property, the barn that housed more than just farm equipment. See, before I retired, I'd served as a U.S. Army tank commander, and when I came home, the local Veterans Museum arranged for me to store an old discommissioned M1 Abrams on my property. It was fully disabled for combat, or so they thought. But what the HOA didn't know was that I'd spent months restoring it as a family project. The main gun was inert, but the engine, treads, floodlights, and intimidation factor all in perfect working order. "Dad," Luke whispered, excitement flashing in his eyes. Can I roll it out?" I hesitated for half a second. He'd practiced with me in the yard. He knew the controls. And hell, if there ever was a time, it was now. "Do it," I said. Luke sprinted barefoot into the night, heading for the barn. I stormed outside, yelling over the engine of the bulldozer. "Hey, get the hell off my property!" One of the so-called guards, a tall guy with a buzz cut and mirrored shades, at 3 a.m. no less, pointed a flashlight at me. "Sir, the HOA has declared your fence in violation of community guidelines. We've been authorized to remove it immediately." "Authorized by who?" I snapped. "Last I checked, this is my land. You don't have jurisdiction here." Buzzcut smirked. "Sir, failure to comply may result in fines, liens, and additional action." Behind him, the bulldozer roared again, splintering another section of fence. That's when the barn doors groaned open. The sound was unmistakable. The deep growl of a turbine engine spinning to life, like a jet on the ground. The men froze, their flashlights swinging toward the barn. And then, with a screech of steel and a thunderous roar, my son Luke drove the M1 Abrams straight out into the night. The tank's headlights cut through the dark like stadium floodlights. "Holy, is that a tank?" one of the guards yelled. Luke's voice crackled from the external comm speaker. "Step away from my dad's property or things are going to get real uncomfortable." The bulldozer stalled mid-motion. Even the engine coughed like it had lost its nerve. The guards started shouting at each other. That's not legal. It's gotta be a replica. No way that thing runs. The Abrams treads planked forward, the ground trembling as Luke slowly rolled it towards the fence line. He angled it just enough that the tank's massive shadow swallowed the bulldozer whole. Sir, but you can't intimidate us with military equipment. This is a violation. Luke cut him off by hitting the floodlights. The sudden blaze of white light blinded half the men, sending them stumbling backward. I stepped closer, arms crossed. You boys came here to play demolition derby at 3 a.m.? Well, guess what? My kid brought a bigger toy. One of the guards bolted outright, dropping his flashlight as he sprinted into the night. Another followed, muttering, "Hell no, I didn't sign up for this." But Buzzcut stood frozen, trying to muster bravado. "This isn't over. The HOA will..." That's when Luke revved the engine and the Abrams lurched forward another 5 feet. The bulldozer driver panicked, threw it in reverse, and nearly crashed into his own men trying to get away. Within 60 seconds, the so-called HOA security team had scattered into the dark, their vehicles tearing down the road, engines howling. By sunrise, word had spread across the neighborhood. Half the residents were laughing, the other half were horrified. The HOA president, a smug Karen with a bob cut sharp enough to slice bread, showed up at my gate that morning, wagging her finger. "You endangered the community! Rolling out a military tank? That is beyond illegal! You endangered yourself! Sending unlicensed security to destroy my property at 3 a.m.? That's called trespassing, destruction of property, harassment! Want me to keep going?" Her face went pale when I showed her the footage. Yep, every second had been caught on my security cameras. Bulldozer, uniforms, threats, the whole 9 yards. "And one more thing," I added. "You might want to check your bylaws again. My property, it isn't even in your HOA jurisdiction, which means you have no authority here whatsoever." Her color drained from her face completely. She turned on her heel and stormed off, muttering under her breath. Over the next week, something strange happened. Neighbors I barely knew stopped by, shaking my hand. Some brought pies, others beer. One even brought a t-shirt that read, "HOA versus Tank, Tank wins." And Luke, he became a legend at school. "Dude, you drove a tank?" kids asked him. "Can I give you a ride?" Luke just grinned. "Only if the HOA shows up again." The HOA never did. In fact, within 2 months, half the board resigned under the weight of lawsuits, police reports, and public ridicule. Their so-called security force vanished like ghosts. And our fence, still standing strong. So tell me, what would you have done if fake HOA guards rolled onto your property at 3 a.m. with a bulldozer? Would you have called the cops or rolled out something even crazier than an Abrams tank? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit like, share this with your friends, and subscribe for more insane HOA tales. Because trust me, the next one, it's even wilder.